In today's video tutorial, we're going to look at creating blocks and attributes. So before I get started, I want to just set up my units so that they're architectural. So I've already done that, but here I go, setting it for architectural units. That way I can do feet and inches in this case. And I'm going to draw a simple toilet symbol. So I'll start off with a line, and we'll draw a toilet maybe 21 inches by, I don't know, probably like 8 inches for the tank, 21 inches enclosed. Okay, so this is the back of the tank, and again, this doesn't have to be highly accurate. It's just a symbol to indicate a toilet. So I'm going to draw the seat out here, and we'll do something like that. Okay, so this is our simple toilet symbol. So if I want to make this into a block, I'm going to just type in the command BM for block, or block make. So in the block definition dialog box, it's asking me for a name, and I'm going to just put in toilet, and it's going to ask me for a base point. Now the base point is important on a block. Just in case you ever have to redefine your block, the base point is important because it will reinsert blocks at this base point. And when you insert a block, it inserts it by this base point, and it also becomes your rotational handle. So what I'm going to do is click pick point here and pick the midpoint of the back of this toilet here, and I'm going to hit select objects and select these two objects. And then at this point I have to decide whether or not I want to retain my geometry on my screen or convert these lines in this ellipse to a block, or delete the drawing that I have here. Whatever option that I use, I will create the block called toilet, and I won't lose geometry because it will be stored in the computer. But we're going to continue to work on this a little bit, so I'm going to retain this over here. Then over here, basically we can have our blocks become annotative. For something like a toilet, it wouldn't be an annotative block because you would insert the toilet at the correct scale. So when you draw blocks, there are different types of blocks that you can draw. Blocks to scale, or symbols, or unitless blocks that we'll look at in a few minutes here. But annotative blocks are a little bit special. They're more for like symbols. If you had like a test pit on a site plan, or an iron pin on a site plan, or some kind of a symbol like an electrical symbol or a plumbing symbol or something like that. Anything that's a symbol that may change scale from, say, 1/4 inch equals a foot up to a 1/2 inch equals a foot, 3/4 inch equals a foot, something like that. And we'll look at those in a little bit as well. But under scale uniformly, if you check this off, you won't be able to change the X and Y dimensions of your block, so I would leave that alone for right now. And we also want to make sure that we can explode the block. If you uncheck that, you won't be able to explode the block and work on it. So basically, we leave all these things alone for right now and just hit OK, and that creates our block. So then at this point, I can type in insert, and when I go to insert my block, the insert command will go directly to this dialog box, and it'll have a drop down menu here with all of your blocks that are currently defined within this drawing. Okay, so at this point here, I can just say OK, and in will come my block of the toilet. So I can place this wherever I want, and it's just that simple. So now this is a block, And this is the original geometry. So you can see it has the 4 lines here and the ellipse. But this is a block, and you know, people will often say, well, you know, why, what's the advantage of having a block? Well, the advantage of having a block is being able to change the block globally throughout a large plan. For instance, if we look at a plan that I have here called Hospital Attributes, okay, this is a hospital plan, and if you look at this plan, you'll see there's literally probably over 100 bathrooms in here, okay? They all have blocks in here. They all have a shower, they all have a sink, a toilet with grab bars, and on this side they have a sink and some dispensers and so on and so forth. So if this drawing, if we had to make a change to say this toilet, you wouldn't want to have to redraw that, you know, over 100 times in here. So basically what will happen is you can update the block's definition, and by doing that it'll change everything else that has been inserted into your drawing. So let's look at that example here on a smaller scale with our simple toilet. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this toilet again, and I'll just put one here like that, and then I'm going to I'll just do a copy on this and we'll copy it, you know, multiple times. Let me turn off ortho for a second here, and we'll just kind of plop in some as if there were tons of them on our drawing. Okay, so once I have this done, I can go ahead and come back to this original toilet here, okay, and make changes to it. So say, you know, we did this symbol and, you know, it's fine for the initial drawing, but they wanted, you know, more detail on it and said, well, could you round the edges on the toilet, and could you put a handle on there, and could you, you know, make it look a little bit better, basically. So let's do that. I'll go ahead and do a fillet with a radius of, I don't know about that much. And so I'll do that, and we'll fillet this like this, and we'll fillet the tank all the way around so it'll have nice curved edges. I'll go ahead and draw a line on here and come down for the handle. Okay, we'll zoom up to that and just kind of draw this handle like this. Okay, and we'll come up perpendicular to that. Okay, so now we have the flush handle. Let's offset the toilet bowl here. Let's offset it in, about that much. And let's put in a circle in here for the drain. And let's lastly connect this up with a couple of lines in here. And we'll just come straight forward on those. So let's just come straight forward like that, and trim that off, and then mirror that. Okay, so now we have this toilet symbol, okay? And now I want to update all these. So how do I go about doing that? Well, if I go into block make again, and we pick the same name of toilet, and our insertion point would be the same as they all were. If you don't have the right insertion point, and I'll show you an example of that here in a second, it'll mess all these up and shift them all. So our original toilet had the base point at the midpoint there, and that's fine. And then we'll go ahead and select all these objects like that. We're going to retain it again. And when I hit OK, okay, AutoCAD will give us a alert saying that the toilet's already defined. Okay, would you like to redefine this block? And we'll say yes, I'm going to redefine it. So when I hit redefine, all of the blocks in the whole entire drawing will update. It doesn't matter if there are 5 or 500, they'll all update. Okay, Now if you mess up the insertion point on these, and let me just kind of draw a line across here like this, just as if there were some walls on here or something, so just so you can kind of see on these two. I'm going to go ahead and redefine that block again, and I'll pick the name toilet one more time, and on the base point I'm going to pick the center of that circle, and I'll go ahead and select these objects again and hit OK. Now this time it's going to ask me the same question: do I want to redefine a block? I'll say click on it and say yes, and notice how it shifted all of them up. And so now I have 500 blocks in that hospital drawing, say, and all the toilets are all shifted now. So it's extremely important that you continue to keep the same base point. And if you don't know what the base point is, insert a block and look at the grip, and it will show you where it is. So for instance, if I pick a block like this and highlight it, it'll show me that that grip is right there. That grip is the indicative, that grip is where the insertion point is. So that way we know what's going on there. The other thing that is important to know about blocks is the fact that the blocks take on the layer that they're inserted on if they're created on layer 0. If they're created on a layer that's a defined layer, say we created a layer calling it toilet, all of those will be on the layer toilet no matter what layer they're inserted on. So let's look at some of those examples here so that we can kind of see some examples of that. So I'm going to take this toilet here and we're going to copy it, and I'll just copy it over there like that. And I'm going to come up here to my layers, and we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to call it plumbing. And I'm going to create another new one calling it toilet. Okay. Toilet layer, I'm going to make it red. The plumbing layer, I'm going to make it magenta. Okay. So I'm going to change this block here and put it on the layer calling it toilet. Okay. So this is still just objects, and let's just erase all these to kind of get them off the screen for a second. Okay. This one here is still on layer 0. Okay. So if my layer is set to plumbing, when I insert the toilet will come in on that layer. Okay. So the toilet takes on the properties of that layer, whether it's the color, whether it's the line type or the line weight, whether it's plottable or non-plottable. It will take on all of those attributes associated with the layer. So as long as the block has been created on layer 0. So that's one of the reasons why they say not to draw on layer 0, because layer 0 is a special layer. So as long as that's done that way. So for instance, on this one, we converted all these objects over to the toilet layer. So if I make a block, and we'll have to give it a new name, so this one here we'll call it toilet 2 or toilet red. Okay, I'll use my base point here again, and I'll select all these objects. Like, whoops, I got a little bit carried away there. Toilet red again. Pick point and select objects. I'll get just those. I'm going to retain it and hit OK. So notice I'm still on the plumbing layer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it on the plumbing layer. And when I go to insert toilet red, okay, and I hit OK, notice the toilet is coming in on that toilet red layer. I inserted it on the plumbing layer. It's on the plumbing layer, but it actually is on the toilet layer. So if I come up here and turn off toilet, notice it goes off. Even though it was inserted on the plumbing layer, it's not. So there's kind of two thoughts on this process. When someone inserts the block, it's always on the correct layer, no matter what. Or, there may be a reason why you want one block to be on multiple layers. So say, for instance, we had another layer, we'll just call it layer 1, and we'll make another layer 2, and another layer 3. Okay, so we'll just give each one of these a different color. Okay, and blue. And we'll also load up a line type here. Don't ever use the ISO ones. I'll say that every time we come in here. Those are a different standard. They're for international ISO standard. So your line type scales won't work correctly on those, and they'll be all messed up on you. So we'll try that on that one. So we'll put this one on here. So this one here, we're actually going to rename this layer, and we're going to call it existing. And this one here, we'll load up another line type. Let's do dotted ×2. Okay. And this one here, we'll call it, rename the layer, and we'll call it demo for demolition. Okay, and we'll just leave layer 3 the way it is. Okay, so now if I have the demo layer set and I go to insert toilet red, okay, toilet red's going to be on toilet red. Doesn't matter what it comes in at. It's always going to be red. It's always going to be continuous. If we put in the toilet that was created on layer 0 onto the demo layer, in comes this one. Okay, if we look at it up close, you can see that it is in fact a dotted line. Okay, and it takes on the properties of that layer that are green. If we go in here and put in existing and we insert this toilet, okay, this one comes in on the correct layer as well, and it is in fact dashed. Okay, so you can see there's two different ways to kind of go about doing this. So just be aware of that fact. All right, it really kind of depends on what you're doing and what the application is and who's setting your drafting standards and all that sort of stuff. So as long as you know to create a block on layer 0 or create a block on its layer that it's supposed to be on, then you'll have that information at your disposal, and you can go ahead and make the correct decision. Okay, so let's look at the hospital example here for a second. I'm going to open this back up. I want to show you a couple things that happens. A lot of time you'll find yourself working on existing drawings quite a bit. And say, for instance, this toilet is going to change, and we want to make changes to this. So when I pick this object, my first indication that it's a block obviously is because I select it and it's all one object. Okay. If I want to edit this, we have in AutoCAD something called the block editor. So basically I can select this and right click and come up here and hit block editor. All right. And in the block editor, it's going to pull up a whole different new environment with a gray background, and you'll see your blocks in here. So when I select this and do a list on it, I can see that this is a polyline, so that's good. But I want to edit the toilet, so I want to come over here and pick the toilet. But when I do, notice that it has one grip on here. Okay, so that indicates to me that the toilet is a block. Let's just verify that by using the list command to list it out. And sure enough, it says that it's a block, and it tells me what the block name is right here. It has this long number on here with the word toilet at the end. And this indicates to me that this this drawing came from another drawing, and this was an external referenced file, because this is how external reference files creates layers, but that's here nor there, it doesn't really matter. What is important here is that toilet, this is basically a block. So what we have here is something called a nested block. We have a block within a block. So in order to make changes to this original block, I have to go back to this original toilet and edit that. So if I click on that and go into the block editor and say okay, now I'm back here to this toilet. All right, so I can go ahead and make changes to this by putting in, say, where the drain is going to be, and maybe let's erase this back part here like that, and let's put in a circle here for where the plumbing is, and we'll put another one in the top there, and I'll use rectangle to put on a sensor, because this is one of these new fancy toilets that senses that you've gotten up. Okay, so we'll put that in there, and we'll just do a quick trim and trim that off so that it looks something like that. Close enough. So once you're done editing this block, you can close this block editor, and we'll save changes to that, and it's going to ask us to regen. We'll say okay. And once I've done that, notice that all over my entire drawing, no matter where I look, that change has now happened. But this was a block within a block. So if, for instance, we wanted to edit these paper towel rolls here, I can click on that and come in here and say block editor, and we can come in here and make changes to this now and say, well, those are, way down too far. Maybe they need to be back here or something like that. And that's the only change that I want to make. And I can see that whoever drew this didn't do the best job on the radius there. So let's clean it up a little bit, and I'll do an explode. Oops. E-X-P-L-O-D-E, explode, and we'll explode this polyline into its original parts, and I'll erase these radii on here because those aren't right. And we're going to just use the fillet command with a radius of, I don't know, about this much. So we'll do one there, and we'll fillet that one here. So we have a nice fillet radius there, and then we'll do another fillet. Or actually, we can offset this one over the distance of this rail. So let's do that. Offset, and our offset distance is going to be this much, and that will offset that like that. And I'll have to do a little cleanup on there. So we'll come up and zoom up to that and trim that off. So that looks much better now than this, because that's not correct. Again, we can fix this one up the same way. Looks like the exterior radius on that is correct, so let's just explode that one. And the only reason I'm exploding those is because they're polylines. So let's offset, or let's erase those. Might as well make it consistent. And we'll do fillet. Oops. Fillet with a radius, same radius that I had before. Alright, and then we're going to use offset. And that had a radius of 2. And trim. And we'll trim those off. Hard to trim them without zooming up to them. It's much easier to zoom up. Alright, so we have made those changes, and we just get out of the block editor and save the changes. About to regen, yes, okay. And it will make those changes throughout the drawing. So all 100,000 toilets that are in this drawing have been updated. We were working down in this part, so let's look up here at this part. Let's see. Okay, so it didn't update this one up here, so that indicates to me that this one was a different block altogether. So for whatever reason, someone inserted this. This is this block name 11002, and plum ends in plum. Okay, so when we come down here and look at these ones down here and use list on that, you can see the block name has TLT in it. Okay, so that's a little bit different. So I'd have to go up and I'd have to make changes to that. And it's basically just how this other person worked. Not too big of an issue. Okay, so now you've seen how you can edit nested blocks. Okay, so let's go back to our initial drawing here, and I want to talk a little bit about something called unit blocks. A unit block is a block that's drawn in a 1 inch by or 1 inch square, basically. So I will draw in here a 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. Okay, and this is my area that I'm going to draw within. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can intelligently scale something up. Okay, so for instance, if I was going to draw an I-beam or a door or a window that I wanted to use over and over in my drawing again without drawing many of them, I could draw that within this boundary here and have it come out correct. So I'm going to come back to layer 0 and I'm going to draw right on top of this. Okay, and I'll come down. Now, as far as thicknesses are concerned on this, I'm not really sure what they're going to be because this is going to be a unit block. So this is just an I-beam symbol, and I'm going to give it a little bit of thickness and make it just consistent thickness here. Let's see. Let me turn off my object snaps and my ortho. They're getting in the way a little bit. So I'm going to just say I want to offset it about this much. Now you can offset, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but when you pick dynamically on your screen, because I don't really know how far I want to offset this, so I can just visually click, say here, and then click here and say I want my offset to be that far. Okay, so I'll just click again, and that will set my offset distance. Okay, and here I want to offset it about half that distance, so I'll do that. Okay, so we can do that, and now we'll go ahead and trim this up. So trim, all that stuff. Trim all this stuff out. Trim all this stuff out and erase that. And we'll draw a line back in here again. I'll turn my object snaps back on. And bingo. Alright. So this block that we just drew, okay, I'm going to go ahead and move this away from my 1 inch block now here. So we'll go ahead and select those two lines there, that line, that one. And notice I'm not making a big window around it because I don't want those blue lines as well. I just want my I-beam here, okay? So my insertion point for this is going to be right here in the middle someplace. So I'm going to use a midpoint snap here and here to create that center point right in there. So I'm going to go ahead and make the block, and we're going to call this steel I-beam. Okay. Its insertion point is going to be, I'll put a temporary tracking point right there, and a temporary tracking point right there, and I'll come up, and where those two intersect right there, that's my insertion point. And then I'll select my objects like this. I don't want to scale uniformly. I want to keep it on my screen and hit OK. So the nice thing about this is now when I go to insert this I-beam, okay, we'll do our steel I-beam. The insertion point I'm going to specify on the screen, okay. My rotation I'll specify on the screen, okay. My scale in here, though, I'm going to uncheck uniform scale, and in here I can say, okay, in the X direction, going from left to right, all right, I want my I-beam to be 24 inches wide by, say, 36 inches high, okay? So because we made this 1 inch by 1 inch, I can just put in whatever size that I want here, and it will scale that I-beam accordingly. So I can rotate it now. I can put it on my screen like that. Now I can come in and do another I-beam in here and say, okay, well, this one's going to be 12 by 16. Okay, come in here, and now I have a 12 by 16 I-beam. Okay, so this is what we call a unit block, because I can use it for many, many things, and I can use it the same thing for like a door symbol or anything like that. So if I was to draw a floor plan in AutoCAD and I don't have, you know, fancy software like AutoCAD Architecture or Revit or Chief Architect or something like that, and I was drawing floor plans in AutoCAD, then I'd set up my drawing to draw doors and windows in this way as well. So that way I have one door symbol, one window symbol, one I-beam symbol, and so on and so forth. I don't have to have, you know, 16 different door sizes and umpteen thousand different window sizes. I'll just have one. So let's look at those examples for a second here. And what I'll do is I'll just draw a quick little floor plan here. We'll just come in here and turn ortho on, and we'll go 40 feet. Oops, undo that. We'll go 40 with a foot mark by 26 feet. Just a typical ranch style house, okay? Something like that. Then use offset, 6.5 inches for the exterior walls. So we'll do that sort of thing. So say in here I want to put in a door outside here. I'll go ahead and just draw that in for the door, and we'll offset for 3 feet, okay, for an exterior door, okay, and then I'll trim that out. All right, so there's my exterior door hole. I'll do an interior door right here. We'll come up and draw this up and kind of come over like this, and use offset again, 4.5 inches because it's an interior wall. Use fillet with a radius of 0. Fillet those. Trim this stuff up. Okay, so something like that. Put in a door. We're going to put in a door like right about here. And we're going to offset that one 2 foot 6 inches. And we'll trim that one up. And down here we're going to have a closet. It's going to be for like a broom closet or something. So it's going to have a little tiny tiny space in here. So I'm going to just go and put in a small little wall. We'll come back maybe 2 feet and come down like that and offset that 4.5 inches. We'll fillet that. and put a line in here. All right, so something like that, and then we'll offset that 16 inches. Oops, wrong side. All right, so we got a little tiny 16-inch door there. And we'll trim that up, trim that up, trim that up. Okay. So I got 3 different size doors here, and that's the whole point. So now I'm gonna draw my first door. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to my unit block down here, my 1-inch square, and we'll zoom right up to that, so that I can draw in my small little door, my 1-inch door. So we'll draw this across and up. Now, how thick am I going to make that? Well, it doesn't really matter because the door is just a symbol. So you don't want it, as thick as 1 inch, but you want it, somewhat thin. So I'm going to come up here just like only like a 1/16 of an inch or something like that. Close that off. And then we're going to go ahead and rotate this. Okay, all these 4 little lines here. And I'll pick that point right there. And that's going to be kind of like my hinge. So I want that to be, about 45 degrees. And I actually want it going the opposite way. So let's rotate that again. Try that one more time. I'll pick these. So this is my door swing minus 45 degrees. I'm going to move that in here like this. Okay, this would be the hinge point right here. Okay, so the door is open and this is the hinge. Okay, so we'll put an arc on here, and I'm going to do my start point right here, and my center point is going to be right here, and I did it counterclockwise. I did it the wrong direction. Let's try that again. Let's try center here, start here. Oh, I always do that wrong. As you can see, I'm not perfect either. So we'll start here, end here, and just kind of draw that out. So you want that going about like that. You don't want it bulging out like this. You want it just going at the right angle. So you kind of want it just going over that like that. Okay, so again, this is our unit block for our door. So I'll go ahead and create door. Our base point is going to be right there. I'm going to select these objects like that and delete them. That's fine. Yeah, I already had done it once, but it messed up. So let's try it again, and we'll go ahead and put this in. Insert. Okay. So we're going to specify it on screens for the insertion point, the rotation, the scale. I want to uncheck uniform. Actually, in the case of the door, it's going to be uniform because it's going to be this one here will be 36 by 36. So this is going to be a 3-foot door. So I could either put in 3 feet or 36 inches and hit OK. Oh, it won't let me put in the foot mark. That's right. So you have to put in inches here. So 36. So that comes in like that, and I go ahead and put that in, and I have my rotation. So I get that in there like that. So that one's fine. And then if I have this other one that's 2'6", so that would be 30 inches. Okay, so we'll put that in and hit OK. Drop that one in like that. Okay, and this one down here is going to be only 16 inches. So we have that one. This one here has a little bit of a different, it's going to have some rotation done to it, or a mirror. So, but it's still quicker than doing it any other way. So we'll erase that. There we go. Okay. So there you go, a unit door. Okay, one door to create all those blocks. Now our windows are similar, except that they're going to insert in based on the thickness of this wall. So instead of doing it in a 1-inch fashion, this one's a little bit strange. You do it based on the exterior size. So for instance, you know, if your exterior wall is 1 foot, not 1 foot, excuse me, 6.5 inches. So I'm going to put in 6.5 like that, and 1 inch in this direction, and then up 6.5 and close it off. Okay. Excuse me. So this will end up being our window, and I'll just draw a line in the middle. That's our window pane, and I can offset that maybe 1 inch. So something like that. So this ends up being our window block. So I'm going to go and make a block out of this, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. So in this case here, my base point is going to be, say, here. I'm going to select these objects like that. I'll retain them, hit OK. Oops, I need to give it a name. Window, hit OK. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put a window in here and here. So we'll say Insert, pull this down, say Window. So in this case here, our X dimension is going to be how wide the window is. So let's say we want to put in a 36-inch window. I'm going to uncheck Uniform Scale. So it's going to be 36 inches wide, but Y will remain the same because we drew it to actual size, 6.5 inches. So I can bring that window in just like this, place it in there, rotate it, and now I have my first window. If I bring in another window, so this time here, this one's going to be 36 as well. Hit OK. Pick that. Let's just bring it in like that. Okay. So I get in my second window, and I want over here a 24-inch window. Bring that one in right there. Whoops, wrong rotation. So as you can see, unit blocks are very handy. Okay, so you know, and as I was inserting these all should be on the proper layers and all that sort of stuff. So you know, you can do it after the fact. So in here I can say this one's going to be doors. All right, this one's going to be windows, and so my doors are going to be yellow. My windows are going to be blue, and all I have to do is come down and select my 3 doors, come up here and put them on the doors layer. Boys, you can't see yellow at all on white, can you? All right, and I'll pick my 3 windows and drop those on windows. Okay, and let's change the doors so we can see them. Let's make them green. All right. So there you go. That's a real quick foray into making blocks, and hopefully you learned something about that. Next we'll talk about attributes.